my father is really, really big on customer experience and frontline employee experience. He wants to know what's it like for the customer and what's it like for the frontline employee. And so he told a business partner, he said, I'm going to drive a limo for a month. And if I think I can add anything new, different, or better for either the customer or the employee, then I'll do this.
Hello, my name is Matt Brose with Lockton. In my role, I consult with employers all around the country related to their employee benefits strategy. We're in conversations all the time about how to attract the best talent and get the best out of their people. Work ethic, integrity, those are all traits of people that pursue excellence, and it doesn't even stop there. From the boardroom to the storeroom, we're going to find out what drives those people. Welcome to the excellence culture. This is going to be an excellent adventure. Well, welcome to the excellence culture. I'm Matt Brost with Lockton Dunning Benefits, and I'm super excited to be sitting next to John Kundmueller, the President of FreedomPark. And I would say if you live in the DFW Metroplex, there's a very good chance that you've seen the red shirts at the airport, the FreedomPark employees, and doing that amazing valet parking service that you guys do. And for me, I just want to tell you, I'm very, very impressed and almost just admire the service that you guys deliver.
Thank you.
Every single time I go to the airport and I park my car, I just can't believe the smiling face that greets me, how engaged they are. In this world that right now, we'll go to a restaurant and we've got to apologize for asking somebody to get us a glass of water.
Yeah.
And your guys and girls are out there in the heat, parking cars, helping people with a smile on their face, and I can't wait to hear how you do it. Okay?
Thanks. Appreciate it.
But first, I would love to hear a little bit about your upbringing, because you're obviously a significant leader in this thing that I see that is crazy excellent. So I'd love to hear about your upbringing. What was your upbringing like, values, all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
So I'm from the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Grew up in Hurst-Euless, Bedford, and I think a big part of my upbringing, or the significant things that happened in my life, was blessed to be raised in a home where I was really close to my father, who also was a part of our business. So parents got divorced when I was 9. That's a tough thing that happened. Was really tough. And through that experience, we lived with my dad. And so our upbringing, there was a lot of expectations, high expectations. And so really poured myself into school and sports. And I was really fortunate that I had a really close group of friends that I grew up with, that in fact, in a couple of weeks meeting up with them to go on a guys trip up in Vermont.
That's cool.
Some of the same guys. So
from HEB?
From HEB, yeah. So played competitive basketball, which kind of kept me on the straight and narrow. So pretty typical, I would think, high school and junior high life. I ended up going to Texas A&M University, and kind of like a lot of kids.
I apologize.
Yeah. Well, I gotta make sure. I gotta make sure I get that in there. I was gonna, but I'm not gonna do that. So went there, and I think when I went to college, kind of like a lot of kids do, that was kind of my rebellious stage. I was out from some of the pressures of what it's like to grow up in a household where there's pretty high expectations on you. Kind of lost my way in that, and 9/11 happened, which is also about the time we were starting our business, and so I joined the Marine Corps, and that was a really good influence in my life, but I thought it was going to be my savior. I thought that's what I was going to do my whole life. I thought I was going to be a Marine. And in God's good plan, I busted both my knees, had complete reconstruction on both knees, and so that dream ended, and I came back and was part of the family business. And right around that time is also when the Lord just picked me up and saved me. And so big Amen, shift dude. In my life happened right at that kind of 21, 22-year-old. It's almost like there was a pre-life that I experienced. I think you understand that.
Yeah, I do.
And then life just kind of changed at that point. So yeah, that's kind
That's
of
great.
sort of short, quick story.
Well,
about
thanks
me.
for being so transparent about that,
Yeah.
man. And it obviously is probably something that drives you in your leadership,
Sure.
for sure. You were a part. It seems like you were a part of Freedom Park from the very beginning, right? And so I would love to hear what that experience
Yeah.
was like. What was early Freedom Park days, where all of a sudden y'all are parking cars, or what?
Yeah.
What was the beginning of Freedom Park?
Very
like?
basic.
Yeah.
So we actually launched in the spring break of the semester. I had decided to go into the Marine Corps. So that summer I was going to go to boot camp. But we launched in spring break. So I was back March 12th, 2001. And there was 5 of us. So my father, 1 manager, and 3 valets. And I was one of the 3 valets. And we were on a really old, beat up parking lot in South Irving. We had 1 partner at the time, and he owned the parking lot. That was his big contribution to the business. And the idea was, really the idea came from my father, who owned a courier company in Dallas-Fort Worth, sold it, was doing some consulting, had a buddy that wanted him to start a sedan service driving people to and from the airport. And the customer experience and frontline employee experience. He wants to know what's it like for the customer and what's it like for the frontline employee. And so he told a business partner, he said, I'm going to drive a limo for a month. And if I think I can add anything new, different, or better for either the customer or the employee, then I'll do this. And he says that his story always was that every single customer told him they loved that a sedan picked you up and dropped you off right at your gate. But what they didn't like is when they would come home, they didn't have their own car. So they're trying to go to a kid's soccer game or a date with his wife or whatever the case may be, and they got to come all the way back to downtown Dallas to get their car before they could go home. So he went to his business partner and said, we're going to give people the convenience of a sedan or a limo, but we're going to let them drive their own car and be in control. And in 2001, there wasn't a single valet parking company at any airport in the country. So his whole idea was he's going to let people pre-arrange valet parking, and we were going to track flights and let people drive their own car directly to their gate. So no valet stands, no place the customer has to go. We're going to go to where they need to be.
Yeah.
So when we launched, we had a very basic database built on Microsoft Access. We had a really basic parking lot and this concept of something new that nobody else was doing. And we were excited about it. We thought it was going to, we thought as soon as we went out there, everybody was going to use it. And that didn't happen.
Really?
Yeah, that didn't happen. It took a lot of hard work. And
well, I've found for me, I don't know what led me to use it the first time.
Yeah.
It was probably a referral, somebody saying, man, you got to try this. But once I tried it, it's like the service is just so good.
Yeah. If we can get somebody to use it, they're not going to go back.
Yeah.
But we didn't have any money, right?
Yeah.
So all the family money is invested in this. We have one partner who's not giving the investment that he said he would be giving. It was real contentious. And so we didn't have a marketing budget, really. We had some funds set aside for that. And then this is 2001. So in September, 6 months into a business completely dependent upon air travel, 9/11 happens. And so one of the biggest memories I have is standing on our parking lot with my dad, staring in the sky, right out by DFW Airport, and there's no flights. Nobody's flying.
And you guys, from an employee, how many employees did you have at this point?
At that point, we had about 15, 20 maybe.
Yeah.
And so we didn't know when people were going to start flying again. And so the conversations were kind of, this was a great idea, but this isn't going to happen, or we got to stick this thing out, and we think when people do start flying again, we have something special.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest decisions I know that we ever made was we knew when we came back, the employees that were there from the beginning that were invested, we were going to need them.
Yeah.
And if we didn't keep them on, they're going to have to go find another job. So we took what money we did have that was earmarked for marketing, and we paid our employees basically just to stay home for 4 or 5 months until flights came back. It was one of the best decisions we made, because when it came back, we had people ready to go.
Yeah.
So, but that was scary because it was early on.
Well, I kind of want to, like, right from that, go straight to just what you guys just recently, COVID. And I just had the fortune to be able to talk to Clay Parks with Parks Coffee and how much they were impacted by COVID. And you were one of the first people I thought of when COVID happened too.
Right.
And I know that we've even had texting back and forth, saying, I got nothing I can tell you other than I'm praying, man.
Yeah.
But, did you guys use some of the same philosophy from the learning of 9/11?
Sure.
Or, what was that process going through?
Yeah, so the pandemic was more difficult because the impact lasted longer and because nobody had any idea what
and you
was gonna
started,
happen.
you probably had hundreds of employees that were impacted.
We had 425 the day that, I remember being in Phoenix at our operation in Phoenix, and I'm sitting down eating dinner, and it was, they canceled the basketball game. We were watching the Mavericks. They canceled it halfway through.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
I remember calling my brother, and at that point I said, hey, I think this is real, and this is probably going to impact us for a month or so.
Yeah.
We had no idea. A month later, we went from 425 to 25 employees. We went from 2,500 people parking with us a week to 25 people parking with us a week. It was just overnight.
Yeah.
But I do think we learned a lot through a bunch of the challenges that we had early on, and we were just blessed to have gone through those things. Because I think we were nervous, but we very quickly were able to kind of say, okay, here's what we're going to have to do.
Yeah.
Whether it was going to work or not, we didn't know. But one of the things we did is we furloughed all the employees that had benefits. We didn't fire them because they needed. I mean, these people needed their health care. They needed. We needed to keep them connected to FreedomPark. We did keep 25, 30 salary employees on staff. Continued to pay them. And then one of the biggest things I think that we've learned over the years is our business is about our people.
Yeah.
You know that as a customer. Your interaction with FreedomPark is, your sole opinion of FreedomPark is based upon the person you're going to meet at the airport.
Yeah.
So we knew how important those people were. So I held a weekly Zoom call that any employee could jump on at any time. And I did a video message every Friday. And we just tried to stay connected to our people and be as open as we could about what we knew, what we didn't know, what we were trying to do. And I think that served us well when it did start to come back, because probably more than most companies, we were able to get a lot of our employees to finally come back to us.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was scary though.
Yeah, crazy. So like that grow back, I mean, do you think about like just the instability of America sometimes as you're growing back, just wondering like, or are you able to just kind of look forward, and
I think we realized like there's going to be a next something.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know if it's a pandemic or...
It does seem like the airline industry gets impacted by a lot of things.
Sure.
Right? Yeah.
Well, the mortgage crisis was a big deal for us. We took a big nothing like the pandemic, but we took a nosedive because of that. Anything in the economy or in the world that would cause people to stop flying or companies to tighten their budgets, we're going to be affected by.
Yeah.
So one, we understand we have to run our business really, really smart. I think that was a big blessing, is when we hit the pandemic, we had cash saved up, we weren't in debt, and we weren't leveraged. Like, we were kind of prepared, maybe better than some, and I'm really thankful for that. But yeah, I think about what's gonna, what's gonna happen.
I bet. But from my perspective, I mean, probably the most important thing that I would love to talk to you about, because this is the excellence culture.
Sure.
And it's just really, how do you do it, man? I mean, I have never had a bad experience with FreedomPark. And I find that you do that with majority part-time employees too. Yeah. And I see every other industry and the challenge it is to train up and execute excellence, especially with a part-time population.
Yeah.
It seems impossible, to be honest, but somehow you've made it very possible. So I'd love to hear even just some of the mechanics that are going on in the background that allow you to just kind of execute at that level on a regular basis.
There's a lot there, and I think to your question, like, there are mechanics, but I think more than anything, first and foremost, it's just a world view and then it's a company view, and I think we understand that the most important person in our organization truly is our valet. That as a customer, that the opinion you're going to have on FreedomPark and whether you use us or not, it's not me. You're not going to talk to me. Yeah. My job is to make sure they can do their job. but it's that frontline employee.
Yeah.
And it seems like a lot of times, companies may have a culture where the guys at the top are the ones doing all the important work, and the guys on the bottom are the guys that are just executing it. I think we think differently. I think we flip that on its head. And so a lot of the mechanics we have are
not just in theory, but in practice.
In practice, yeah. So a lot of the mechanics we have then have to support that. So we talk about it a lot. But I want to make sure that frontline employee genuinely feels like what they're doing has value.
Yeah.
And not just what they're doing, but that they have value. So some of the things we do, if I'm in town, I'm in every training class. Every week that comes in, I go in, I talk to them, I give them our full history. I talk about how important their job is. If I'm not there, one of our other executives goes in. Somebody on our executive team is in every single training class.
Yeah.
We vet 140 applicants a week, and we try to pick the top 5 or 6. So we're trying to find the right people to begin with. We spend a lot of money and time on trying to find the right people.
And you don't have to tell me what you pay, but I would assume that you pay above average.
We do.
For your talent.
Yeah, you have to.
Yeah.
You have to, and it's worth it. We try to give them as many opportunities to make tips and to make extra wages in ways that they can. I think one of the other important things that we've been able to do is not just show people the value that they have, but how they can add value. So every person in our organization started as a valet. We're 22 years in, and there's not an executive, a manager, a supervisor, anybody that did not start with a red shirt parking cars.
I mean, that's what Chick-fil-A does too.
Yeah. And so we've been blessed to have really good talent come in and really good people, and we try to give them opportunity to grow. And again, we stay connected. So there's rules like my management team, they're not allowed to have their doors closed. They're not allowed to have iPads or pods, your things in, just to demonstrate to our folks that if you need something, you just come on in.
Yeah.
So
those simple things, I mean, we do a lot from our broker standpoint at helping employers with the concept of employee engagement. We have a whole practice that helps employers with employee engagement. But some of the things that you're talking about is employee engagement right there. I mean, making sure your managers have their door open, making sure people aren't walking around with earbuds in and that kind of stuff just allows that interaction among an employee population. And I mean, that's huge. I mean, we can all learn a lot from that, man. Yeah.
I think you have to believe it as an organization that those frontline employees really are the most important employees, and then you have to do things that show them that's true. Yeah. So, one of the other things is you may see me every once in a while out at the airport, because if we have a busy night, I'm going and grabbing all our guys. I don't care what your title is, and we're getting in a car and putting a red shirt on, and we're going out to the airport. Yeah.
There are crazy nights with delays. And
Yeah, we can see the weather out. That might happen tonight.
Yeah, it does look pretty gloomy right now. So. All right, well, I want to kind of hear about what's going on with FreedomPark right now. What's the future looking like? I know that there's some expansion going on. Let's talk about that. Yeah,
we're in the middle of it right now. So we just launched our 3rd airport at Salt Lake City. Okay. And anytime you launch a new airport,
it almost takes you back to the grassroots.
It always does. So it's funny you say it. So 2 weeks ago, I'm out there with me, my director of operations, and we're in red shirts and khaki pants, and we're training valets and valet parking cars. Yeah. Which is fun. I mean, I enjoy it. Right, you get back to it. But every city is challenging, because every airport's run differently, and so we launched 2 weeks ago, and very quickly the airport came to us and said, "Well, you can't be doing this." And we said, well, you gave us a permit to do this. And so now we're into some negotiations with kind of a more long-term plan with Salt Lake City Airport. But I think within the next couple of weeks, we'll be fully launched and have our 3rd airport. And then we have 2 others that we're pretty actively looking at. And so on the airport side, it's just finding good markets where the service is needed. And as a traveler, it's needed. And then aggressively trying to get into those airports.
Well, I'd say if there's anybody listening that lives in Salt Lake City or is a part of that airport, they need to know that FreedomPark is a blessing, and
Thank you for that.
and that you guys really enhance the whole experience at an airport. So I only expect continued great things, and I think the things that you're talking about, like just the example of what you're doing in Salt Lake right now, that you're putting your red shirt on, those are the unique things that we're seeing with these organizations that execute this excellence that we're talking about, you know? And so really appreciate you sharing that. Appreciate who you are.
Thank you.
Appreciate your faithfulness. And just thanks for this time, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. This is fun.
Yeah, good stuff. Thanks, man.